denying that drop bar bikes with big tires are becoming way more capable machines. But for some of us, that sort of starts to beg the question, at what point do I need a mountain bike instead of a gravel bike? Or will a gravel bike do everything I need it to do? And I got to admit, it's kind of an interesting question to ask. Especially with all of the different footage that's out there these days of people riding big tire drop bar bikes on all sorts of different styles of terrain. Anywhere from light single track or just easy dirt gravel surface roads to just like some absolutely insane Whistler A-line cross bike shreddage. Now, of course, I myself am a little bit guilty of talking about this all the time. I'm like, yeah, if you've got a cross bike and you want to ride some mountain bike trails, just go do it. Or the fact that I made that video a while ago where I had ridden a cross-country mountain bike course on that Tricross. So yeah, I can understand where the question kind of comes from. Now, typically when I'm talking about a gravel bike, I'm typically referring to something like this. A drop bar bike with room for just absolutely massive tires. And for some people, their gravel bike is like this fully rigid mountain bike with funny handlebars and big tires. It's sort of different for everyone, but for me, gravel bike, basically a road bike with just absolutely massive tires and like some small geometry changes to make it a little bit more stable on dirt. I mostly mention that just for clarity. Anyway, I think that for me and the majority of people who do ride a bike like this, the appeal is obviously the fact that it's an incredibly capable bike. It's like the Swiss Army knife of bikes. It kind of allows you to do a lot more things instead of being kind of pigeonholed into a very specific niche of cycling. The position on the bike is a little more like a road bike, so it rides faster. The gearing, typically a little bit taller depending on the bike or the build, and that sort of lends itself well to commuting on the road or spending any time on the road. The bigger tires, well, those just basically allow it to spend some time off-road and feel somewhat at home. In fact, some of my and my friends' favorite type of riding is to mix those two different styles of riding together in a long ride to create something that's going to add a lot of interest, add a lot of possibly trials and tribulations during the entire ride, and just basically make life a little bit harder, but much more interesting on a bike ride. It's fun to spend a fair amount of time on the road with your big tires, but in a great road riding position, and then taking a sharp right or a sharp left onto some sort of service road and just bounce around at low pressure and just hope you don't go over the bars. I mean, if you just look back to one of the videos I posted where me, Brent, Aaron, and Sean all went on a long ride on rough roads and mixed up a little bit of road with it, when you take something like this that's just like not quite enough, it takes those somewhat boring gravel roads and makes them a lot more entertaining to spend time on. Sean was on his mountain bike, and for the terrain that we were on, everything was just kind of too easy for the mountain bike that he was on. And everything he went over, he could just kind of plow over, and that kind of takes away a little bit of the fun. Not to mention, in my very narrow-minded opinion, riding a 29er mountain bike with the gearing and the position that a mountain bike puts you in on the road, well, it's just sort of like a hateful thing to do. Now, there's no way that I can deny that there is a tipping point between whether a bike is just capable and fun to ride and whether it just kind of becomes a bit of a novelty to ride a gravel bike on a difficult single track trail. I mentioned that video where I rode the Tricross on that Canada Cup course, but like, I'm not going to want to do a race like that. That's not any fun. I rode that purely because it was fun to make that video. This video of this cross bike going down A-line, that's not something that you're going to want to do every single run. You're not going to want to do that all day, but it is fun to make a video of that and show that it's capable of doing it. That doesn't mean that it's the right choice for the job. For example, 2 or 3 years ago, Brent and Aaron did the Elgin 80-kilometer mountain bike marathon race on their cross bikes, and when you talk to them about that experience, they don't talk about it like it was fun. They talk about it like, we accomplished it and we got it done. It's not like they talk about wanting to do it again. It's not like it was a super fun, amazing experience that you want to relive. You got it done. It was capable, but it wasn't enjoyable. You talk about it like it's a bit of a novelty. And that's something that I think you kind of need to keep in mind when it comes to gravel bikes and seeing videos and content about people doing stuff like that. There becomes a bit of a point where you look at the ride that you're about to go into, and if there's going to be a fair amount of off-road and difficult technical single track and not a whole lot of like simple road or gravel service road sections, then maybe the drop bar gravel bike isn't really the right choice. That's not to say it can't do it, but it might just end up being maybe not that fun or not that enjoyable. I can't really say that there's like an exact number or a science behind what point you should be buying a mountain bike. Let's be clear, I'm not talking about enduro bikes or downhill mountain bikes here. I'm talking more like a cross-country hardtail. But I think if the current bike, whether you've got a drop bar gravel bike or if you've got a hardtail cross-country mountain bike, if whatever the riding conditions that you've been kind of doing has been fun and you haven't been absolutely loathing going and doing it, you're probably on the right thing. But if you're starting to feel bored and that everything is too easy, maybe consider, going to something a little simpler like this type of setup. And if you're feeling like you're just kind of scared and not having a very good time by bouncing around on a bike like this on the rides that you're doing, it might be time to start considering getting a bit more capable of a bike, like a mountain bike of sorts. Ultimately, it all kind of does come down to personal preference. I really like riding a bike like this, and I'll kind of go through a lot of difficultness just to ride it more. But I do know that there's a certain point that I need to bring a mountain bike with me, and that it's a better choice. Yeah, I think that would probably be my my definition between riding a gravel bike and a mountain bike that you can't see.